So welcome to this Lee Medallion event, The Stories Behind Your Business. My name is Dr. Nadine Ventis, and I'm the Program Manager for the Troesh Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Here at the Troesh Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, we are open to all students. Though we're housed at the business school, it's accessible to all students. We host workshops as well as site visits to different businesses and competitions. This is also a reminder that our deadline to submit your idea for your ideas competition, it has been extended. We're now extending the deadline to Monday, October 25th at 8:59 p.m. Pacific. We will send you an email after this event with information and the application form on how to apply for the ideas competition. There will be 4 winners at UNLV guaranteed of $1,000. So to make the easiest $1,000, you should apply for this competition if you have any idea for a business. You don't need a prototype yet. It's just in the ideas phase if you're interested in launching a business. Again, please make sure your Zoom name is your first and last name, as I'll be taking attendance for this medallion credit. And again, I said earlier, the session is being recorded and will be available on our Troesh Canvas page by the end of the week. If you need access to the Canvas page, please reply to this email you received with the Zoom information, and we will give you access. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the panelists. First, we have Kristen Hadeed, founder and the moderator of the panel today. Kristen believes that authentic human leadership can change the world. At age 19, with hardly any leadership experience, Kristen started a cleaning business called Student Made. She never expected to be her career. It was simply a way to earn money while she was in college. Before she graduated, her company received a contract to clean hundreds of apartments, and it changed her path forever. Kristen hired a team of 60 people who helped her, and within days, 75 of them quit. That's when Kristen's obsession with learning how to be a leader began. Over the next 14 years, Kristen learned a lot by screwing up, but more importantly, she learned how to lead from her heart. Doing so helped her make Student Made from a small cleaning company to a business known on a global scale for its culture of belonging, its focus on people, and its purpose of building leaders. Today, Kristen spends her time helping leaders, teams, and organizations around the world embrace their humanity. She's worked with just about every industry with one purpose behind it all: to build a better world through courageous, compassionate leadership. Kristen's work has been featured in news outlets including PBS, Fox Inc., NBC, Time, and Forbes. And her book, Permission to Screw Up, which has been a Troesh Center book club book, has sold more than 337,000 copies worldwide. And our first TED Talk has more than 3 million views on YouTube. Thank you, Kristen. Our next panelist is Divya Gugnani, the CEO and co-founder of Wander Beauty. Divya has spent nearly 20 years searching for beauty essentials that could help with her on-the-go lifestyle. After earning her BS from Cornell University and MBA from Harvard Business School, Divya began her career in investment banking at Goldman Sachs before moving on to private equity and venture capital at Investment Corp International and First Smart Capital. A self-proclaimed accidental entrepreneur, she later left to finance the world after selling her first business, and bitten by the startup bug, went on to become a serial entrepreneur. After co-founding multiple companies and having children, she found her former beauty rituals tossed to the wayside, and she became more time-starved than ever. Balancing a thriving career and motherhood left Divya applying concealer before morning a subway commute and touching up her lipstick in between meetings in the backseat of a cab. She soon realized that her beauty products and routine weren't made for life in motion. There were too many products, an arsenal of must-have tools, and products were housed in packaging that were too heavy, bulky, and fragile to take beyond her vanity. She needed products that saved her time in her day, space in her beauty bag, and that never sacrificed on performance. Thus, Wander Beauty was born. Launched in 2015, Wander Beauty creates clean beauty essentials you reach into for every day, wherever you wander. Each multitasker is co-created with our community, enriched with clean, globally sourced ingredients that work with your skin, not against it. With over 30 prestigious beauty awards, Wander Beauty has a loyal following of A-list celebrities, top journals, and notable beauty and style influencers. And finally, we have Psyche Terry, CEO and founder of UI Global Brands. Psyche Terry is the CEO and founder of UI Global Brands, a global manufacturer and nationwide marketer of consumer products for its keystone brand, Urban Hydration. Dozens of the company's products are sold every day in approximately 30,000 US retail locations, including Ulta, CVS, Target, Sally Beauty, Dollar General, Bed Bath & Beyond. Her company has been named in Inc.'s 5,000 list of the fastest growing privately held companies in the US consistently since 2019. Psyche calls herself a better maker in her entrepreneurial work as well as her philanthropic work. Most notably, Psyche leads a global partnership with Water is Life to save lives with every product she sells to major retailers. These efforts have helped areas stricken with water scarcity around the world. These contributions funded a well in Kenya and helped 300 students who previously had no access to clean water. Psyche's contributions, awards, and accolades are humbling and speak to her commitment to inspiring, empowering, and uplifting her communities. She's a 2016 alumnus of Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. She's been interviewed on Steve Harvey during the Mystery Millionaire segment and profiled in Forbes, Essence Magazine, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Black Enterprise, and on various nationally syndicated radio stations like ESPN and Fox News. Psyche has been honored as Woman of the Year, Economic Empower of the Year, Outstanding Alumni of the Year, and Philanthropist of the Year. Psyche earned her BBA in Marketing from Western Michigan University and an MBA from UNLV. Go Rebels. And she lives in North Texas with her husband of 16 years and 3 children. And I'm going to hand it over to Kristen, who'll be moderating the panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nadine. And hi, everyone. We're so excited that you're here. Oh my goodness, Psyche and Divya, I am so jazzed to be in the Zoom room with you. And to all of our amazing students and everyone who's Zooming in here, we would love to see your faces. If you want to turn your camera on so that we can make this as much of a connected experience as we possibly can, we would love that. We totally get if you're having a day where you've got Zoom fatigue and you want to keep it off, but we would love to see you. And I also just want to say, we will keep this really organic. So if you have questions, put them in the chat. Nadine will be bringing some of those questions back later. I may be using some of these questions in our panel. So we would love to hear from you. We want to make sure that this event resonates with you. This is all for you. So we will start with kind of a loaded question. And the question is, tell us your story. So Psyche, let's start with you. Tell us your story. Sure. Such a small question, right?
It's a good one. I love storytelling. So I definitely would love to share my story. I'm a very happy mom and wife of now 17 years in December. I actually started Urban Hydration while in business school at UNLV. And Lisa Davis, I think I went on a really neat trip with us right around the time of the inception of the brand. I was living in Las Vegas and had noticed that I had multiple trips to the store and multiple trips to the dermatologist to fight and help respond to dry skin and dry hair. But by no means did I think that that would be the transition and change in what I would do for a living. I'm the person that took a leap of faith from corporate America. And I remember vividly having what I call Beyonce moment in the car on the way from one of my MBA classes. And my Beyonce moment went, why does Beyonce get everything she wants? And I felt like I was in business school, but I didn't understand what was next. I had been in the arena of building and construction, and I had just kind of taken a path. I didn't create a path. And at the same time, I was attempting to understand my path. And I was also a board member with the Blind Center of Nevada. And I recognized I love giving back. And there was nothing like being a person that has whatever it is I have that I can donate and give. And at the time, I had an interest in doing more. I had an interest in giving back, and I had dry skin and dry hair. And they all nicely melded together when an all male outside of myself board management team said they were going to raise money by creating gift baskets and selling them for funds for the center. And I just kind of popped my 2 cents in and said, well, I know I'm in the building industry, but I am a girl that loves beauty. And I happen to be up against a lot of regimens right now. So I gave some feedback on what they could update and change. And I'd like to kind of fast forward and say 7 products later, I pitched them to a retail store. Keep it in mind, my background was in retail marketing and business. And I was still wondering, what is it that, why am I in this business world if I don't understand what I'm doing? But it was really neat to take that passion of give back and that passion of business and the passion of beauty and kind of merge it all together. And a large retailer said, I'll take 500 everything you have. Let's give it a shot. And I went back to the Blind Center of Nevada and said, hey, Corey, who still sits there today as the president. I said, we need 500 of everything. And he went, you've got yourself a new job is what you've done. And you need a new factory because we cannot manufacture this with blind members. I mean, are you serious? And it was just the most uncomfortable, exciting thing. I've since built, a beautiful company that has served very well, continuing that promise. And we've given back to the Blind Center of Nevada. But what's really been neat for us is the brand name, Urban Hydration. And the idea for me was, well, I was in Vegas. I had just moved from LA and now I'm in Texas. I'm from Michigan. I had lived in Louisiana. And my goodness, each of these urban cities, my skin has needed hydration. Not ever would I have thought that women in Kenya would have a hard time being with their family or going to school in their urban area because their family needed hydration to live. And when we got the opportunity to partner with Water is Life, I tell you, my heart changed, my life changed when I recognized that every time we sold a product, and these are, yes, plant-based, yes, clean ingredients, because we wanted ingredients that we could pronounce. We wanted ingredients that were good for our skin. And in my case, with my dry skin and dry hair, I realized that things that I was using at the dermatologist had a lot of long names and titles, but they seemed to not work. And what continued to work were things that were in my cupboard, things that I had depended on for years. So the fact that I could create a product affordably, every one of our products are under $10, and make sure that my family, my cousins is what I like to call my family around the country, our lovies, to ensure that our lovies could have access to clean, affordable, good products that then helped a family in Kenya hydrate themselves. We now have over 100,000 people in Kenya able to drink clean drinking water because of the works that we've been able to do in drilling wells. And our products are now accessible in over 30,000 stores. So it's a beautiful, beautiful story. And I'm very appreciative of that Beyonce moment in the car while doing my master's degree at UNLV.
Wow. So inspiring, so beautiful. I love the heart and the intention behind your business. And for those listening in, if you're considering a path of entrepreneurship, I think thinking about what is your legacy? When you look back and there's one element of building a business that employs X number of people or brings in X number of dollars. What else beyond that? When you look back on your life, what do you hope people will say about the mark that you made on the world? And thinking about that as you're building your business, your career, so amazing. Divya, how about you? What's your story?
My story is I'm an accidental entrepreneur. So for those of you today who are part of the session, sometimes people feel like the quintessential entrepreneur is someone who can sell, someone who can storytell. And the truth is, I grew up, well, my parents are immigrants. They came here from India. I was born in Springfield, Illinois. There were 0 brown people in Springfield, Illinois in the late 70s. I was pretty much the only one alongside my family. It's a very interesting journey. And I think that I was shy. I was quiet. I didn't feel like I really fit in the early years of growing up. And I don't know if anyone can identify with that. And then I moved to New York, where, it was more the same. And I really just love to cook, love to hide in the kitchen when my parents used to throw parties, and kind of just use that as my therapy and my way to kind of be creative. And I went to undergrad at Cornell and I studied government and economics. And I thought I would do exactly the opposite of what I experienced as a child. So my father was an entrepreneur. We had huge highs, huge lows. Everything was up, it was down. Times were great, times were terrible. Money was flowing. There was a cash crunch. It was just so much instability. The only constant of my childhood was change. And so I never wanted that for myself. I actually wanted to have a job. I wanted a paycheck. I wanted 2.2 children. and a white picket fence. And I really just thought, okay, I'll go to college, I'll become a lawyer, I'll have a job, and life will be great. And what's so fascinating about that is that despite what you think you're going to start out doing, you often end up morphing and pivoting and doing something totally different that ends up really being your calling. And keeping an open mind and keeping open horizons allows you to evolve and to build, to grow to your own real potential. So I started my career after going to Cornell and investment banking at Goldman Sachs. I took my first job in New York City. I had 2 coats in the office. One coat I used on the carpet to lay it down, and then I used to lay down, and then on top of it there was another coat because I slept in the office and worked 100 hours a week, every week for 2 years. And I worked in investment banking, and it was just a really rigorous, tough experience, but I learned 2 really big things from it. So first and foremost, one thing I hope that everyone takes away is that we are the success of our best team members, and collaborating is way better than competing. So they used to have a saying that there's no I in Goldman Sachs. And that's one of the most important lessons I've learned in my career, is that we are the success of collective contributions of our teams. And so I learned the early stages of what's important about life and in business and also just your personal life is to really just be focused on teamwork and not about your individual accomplishments and individual contributions, but the success of a team. So that 2 years at Goldman Sachs, I really learned teamwork. I watched, I listened, I learned. I was still shy and introverted, and I watched people make deals. I watched my bosses negotiate. I learned a lot of stuff, and that's another big thing I learned there is to be a sponge. And any job you're at, whether it's the first job I ever had when I was 16, when I worked at a pharmacy and I was at the checkout register, I learned to listen. My mom always taught me that you were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth because you should listen and talk in that proportion. And really listening can be an incredibly valuable skill as an entrepreneur. It's listening to your customers to service them with the best product, listening to your vendors to help build the best partnerships to long-term grow your business, and listening to your team so you can be the best leader you can possibly be. And so I took that kind of teamwork and listening lessons from Goldman. I then went into private equity. I invested in late-stage companies. I sat on the board of 5 different businesses. I got to see them grow and scale. I then went into venture capital, invested in earlier stage companies, got to see them, 2 guys in a garage, get funding in the tech days, and boom. I really experienced, extreme boom and extreme bust in the way you can in the tech environment in the early days of being a venture capitalist. And then I got bitten by the entrepreneurial bug. I accidentally became an entrepreneur. I was basically dating a guy who wasn't really working, and I was working at a venture capital firm, and I had just bought my first apartment, and I was so excited, and I was eating hard-boiled eggs every day because that's all I could afford after I had to pay my mortgage. And I decided to start a business so that he would have something to do. Little did I know that business that I started in my apartment in New York City would grow to a multi-million-dollar business that I would sell within 2 years. So I sold my first company when I was pretty young. I built it, I grew it, I sold it. It was an incredible experience. Everyone should have such a rocket ship. I learned a very humbling lesson in my second business because I could not get it to scale. I worked really hard, and we got to 10 million in revenue, and we were profitable, but we just couldn't get past that mark. And I learned another lesson, which is that learn to pivot, fail fast, try things out, try and, do the best you can. And when something's not working, understand that it's not working and pivot and find another path for yourself. So I started my first business, which I sold, my second business, which didn't scale, started a third company. I built a proprietary algorithm for intelligent shopping recommendation technology, which basically means I built a really smart engine for people to shop online. I sold that business to QVC after raising venture funding for it, 11 months after funding. And it was an incredible experience of building a whole tech team, engineers, building a tech product, having a consumer business. And I also was pregnant at that time with my first child, high risk pregnancy, was really suffering personally from working a lot of hours, and stress, fatigue, and burnout are real. And one of the things that I've learned as a 4-time CEO and an investor, an entrepreneur, is that I used to wear no sleep as a badge of honor, because that's what we did at Goldman. We were like, oh, I slept in the office last night, or I slept 2 hours. And like, that's just crazy talk. Like, taking care of you is the most important thing that you can do. Like my other panelists, I have a family and I have 2 children, and I think that I am a better mother, I am a better partner, I am a better CEO, I'm a better investor, I'm a better daughter and sister and everything above when I take care of myself. So I've been practicing transcendental meditation since the 7th grade. I practice it twice a day, and it's what grounds me and keeps me going. And I feel like everyone has to find their peace and find ways to take care of themselves, because we're in it for this is, not a sprint, it's a marathon. And entrepreneurship can really burn you out really quickly if you just keep accelerating at a crazy pace. So I had 2 kids within 2 years, which was very challenging for me while I was working. I stayed at QVC and worked there for about 2.5 years. And then I left because all I wanted to do was start another business. So I launched Wander Beauty, and I currently am the CEO and co-founder of Wander Beauty. Wander Beauty focuses on clean beauty essentials, things you reach for every day, wherever you wander. So a lot of your color cosmetics essentials, skincare essentials. We make a really famous gold eye patch, which people might have seen on Instagram. And we're globally distributed around the world with partners like Sephora, Nordstrom. We're just launching Neiman Marcus, Revolve, Net-a-Porter, all sorts of amazing prestige partners. And I also invest. I run an investment fund called Concept Co. I've invested in 73 companies in the last 21 years. And I have invested in a lot of companies that you guys know. I was one of the first investors in Pinterest, which went public. I was one of the first investors in Dollar Shave Club, which sold for $1 billion. I was one of the first investors in Shopify, which has gone public. So I have an eye for investing. I love to invest. And I have a team of people that work with me to invest my personal capital that I've created from co-founding and building 2 businesses, selling 2 businesses, and building 4 businesses. And that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. Can you just listen to both of them talk all day? I love it. I love it. I love it. So something that I think the 3 of us have in common is we didn't, maybe like for me, I never thought that I would be an entrepreneur. That wasn't my initial plan for my life. It doesn't sound like that was maybe what, either of you were thinking originally when you were in college. Maybe we had different, visions for how we would, navigate our life path. And then we kind of stumbled upon this opportunity. And now here we are in entrepreneurship. And I think sometimes, at least the way that I thought it worked is like you think of an idea and then you go become an entrepreneur, or you sit there and you're like, I want to be an entrepreneur. What's my idea? And you go make it happen. And that didn't happen for me. It doesn't sound like it happened for you in our initial jump into entrepreneurship. So if you could go back to like before you started your first company, what do you wish you knew about life, about the entrepreneurial path that you know now? And I'll kick us off and then I'll pass it to you. What I wish that someone would have told me is that it's more important to learn what isn't meant for you in your life than it is to fixate on the one thing you're meant to do. Because I think when you're, there's a lot of pressure maybe that you feel, especially if you're graduating soon, or if you've already graduated, it's like, pick your major, pick the thing you're going to be doing for your life. And it's like, how do you know really what you want and what is meant for you if you've never really tried it or experienced it? I went to school for finance. I thought I would work on Wall Street. That's, but I had never done it before. And so how do you really know? And I think even in my journey as an entrepreneur, even learning the role that was meant for me in my company, it's like I had to wear a lot of the wrong hats to really learn where I was meant to be in the business. And so I'm just curious, like, does that resonate with you? And if so, share your thoughts on it. And also, is there anything else that you just wish you would have known about life path, entrepreneurial path? Let's go to Divya and then we'll go to Psyche.
Yeah. So Kristen, you said something that's critical. So I read a book that I'd love to share with you guys recently over this past summer. I think it's called The Ride of a Lifetime by Bob Iger. And he worked at Disney, and he said something that really struck a chord with me that I want everyone to lean into in their daily practice in life. And so this is a bit of homework for all of us to practice together, is that what feels right to you is right for you. What doesn't feel right to you isn't right for you. And so leaning in, and as you move on in your career and develop your own skill set in many different ways, leaning in to your gut intuition is critical. Trusting yourself. You are the CEO of the business. You are the person hiring. If someone doesn't feel right to you, don't hire them. If a partner doesn't feel right to you, don't do business with them. Like, your gut intuition is so, if I just learned to hone into my gut intuition and earlier in my career, I would have averted 20 crises. Because I was an early entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur, and someone with no experience being an entrepreneur in the early years, I trusted the opinion of others who had more skills and more years of experience over my gut intuition. And that's a lesson I really wish I knew when I could have changed my whole career. If I just realized that it doesn't matter how young you are, you know what's right for you. And always lean into that gut intuition. Because when I pitched those gold eye masks, it's called the baggage claim gold eye masks from Wander Beauty, to Sephora, they were like, oh, this looks kind of cool, like something you do once on Instagram. Like, I've sold 15 million packets of baggage claim. Like, it is a hero for our brand. We do tens of millions of dollars of sales in this SKU. And they basically told me that they didn't think it was going to be anything. And so, they were like, well, you can launch it on your site, and if it does well, maybe we'll put it on Sephora.com. And this is true. I, at that time, had been a CEO 3 times, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to freaking launch this thing because I believe in it. I know it's going to work. I know I use it, and it depuffs, brightens, and hydrates my under eyes. I know it's coffee for my face, and it wakes me up. And that is a powerful thing for a lot of people of any gender. And so trusting your gut intuition is critical, and also just not doing things that don't feel right.
Huge. Psyche, what do you think?
I think that I think that it's important for people. It was important for me to definitely understand that everything that I was made with, everything that I was born with, the way that I'm created is perfectly for me. And my gifts are perfectly for me. Divya's gifts are perfect for her. The things that she's been through, the things that I've been through are perfect for me and my experience. And I think that sometimes I would get caught up in wanting to look different, wanting to sound different or behave different or want a different career, want Beyonce's lifestyle. But that lifestyle was not what I was created with. And the lifestyle that I have, the me that I am, my gifting and my employees' gifting, it's all so unique. And I can't do what I do without their individual unique gifts. And I don't get to give the world the power that I give it without my individual unique gifts. I remember being a young girl in, maybe 4th grade, looking in the mirror, moving my chin, seeing if I can elongate it, if I pulled it down, or close it my nose and trying to make it thinner and longer. And to this day, I have a little dimple in my nose because I spend day after day in the mirror trying to make my nose tinier and trying to I'd use my allowance. I'd get money every other week for cleaning the house in my great aunt's place. And I'd take that money straight over to a drugstore anytime she was making groceries, and I'd buy skin lightening cream. And I hoped so badly that I could do something different with my face, because beauty to me was everything I saw in media. And I did not see a woman like myself outside of Oprah Winfrey. And I thought, well, Oprah's already done it and she's done it so well. I can watch her, I can emulate her. But I think she checked that box for women like me. How can I look like every other woman? So I too could be included in this thought of beauty. I think with my interest in marketing, my interest in philanthropy was so unique to me, and I didn't recognize that those are great things that would allow me to create the business that I've created. What I'd be interested in each of you to recognize is that no matter where you're headed, take everything with you that you've been through, and it's going to help create this phenomenal future. I can remember being in undergraduate, I can remember being in my grad school program thinking, maybe I'll try this, maybe I'll try that, maybe I'll try this. And I had gone through such a flood of things. And I remember being so sad with myself because I could not figure out how I could be the best me without, I had never put to the thought that that's exactly it. I've got dry skin for a reason. And I would just be so angry. Why is my skin so dry? Well, if I didn't have eczema, if I didn't have psoriasis, if I didn't have dry skin and dry hair, there'd be millions and millions of people without our products across the country today. So everything that I am, everything that I was, every job that I had, I've been able to take bits and pieces. And my goodness, to go from construction and appliances, which are big, bulky, and not super fun for a young, newly married woman. But my goodness, it was one of the best. It was one of the oldest. It was a Fortune 500 company that I learned so much from. So that anytime Ulta tells us that we can do a gift with purchase, or we can do a new opportunity, or we can launch a whole new collection of product, or if Target says, I'll take it to this many more doors, if CVS says, we'll do an entire collection in all your stores, I'm able to, first off, go, me? The same girl that was buying something to make me look different, you want me to put, first off, my picture in every 70, 800 stores? What? And I still look like this. Are you sure? Okay, let's do it. So first off, it's still me, right? And I've accepted me, and I've been okay with me. But then I get to take bits and pieces of me, even the parts that I didn't like. I get to bring all those trials and all those new learnings to these opportunities. So if you don't get that first job out of grad school or undergrad that you were hoping for, it's okay. I was a Sears sales associate when I first got out of college, and I was able to take everything I learned there to the next role, and everything I learned there to the next role. And I think I kind of heard that from the other panelists. It really is about a build up to create this new scale up of a person that you're called and created to be.
So powerful. It makes me think of this book. It's called The Defining Decade. And it's about how to live your 20s so that the rest of your life is what you want it to be. And really, I think it applies to well beyond our 20s. But the author, Meg Jay, talks about this idea of building identity capital. And your identity capital is what makes you unique. It's what makes you you. It's the experiences you've had in your life. It's maybe the opportunities that you realized weren't meant for you, but they still taught you something. And that capital builds over time, and it's what becomes your currency to then, earn the things that you're meant to do later in your life. And so I think it's maybe even just trusting that even if you're not quite sure what you're learning in this experience that you're having, that you are learning something, and that one day when you look back on your path, the dots will connect. You'll see how this step led you to this, which led you to this, which now you're here. But sometimes as you're living it, you can't quite figure that out. And I think we have a need to sometimes control it. We want to know exactly, why am I doing this? What is it teaching me? But sometimes we just have to trust, build that identity capital. Okay, I can't believe, the book was called The Defining Decade. Awesome book. Okay, I think we have time for one more question, and then we'll open it up to Q&A in the chat. So my question, and it was, Divya, you kind of mentioned this topic of burnout, right? And working 100 hours a week, and now as an entrepreneur, you are a mom, you are a wife, you have all these pieces of you, and it's like, if we're not careful, we can stretch ourselves too thin and we can totally burn out. So my question is, how do you stay inspired and motivated as an entrepreneur, as a creator? And what's like one practical way that you avoid burnout? Why don't we do Divya and then Psyche?
Yeah, so I mentioned that I meditate, which I think is critical for me. It grounds me in the morning. It helps me focus on my day and all the stuff that goes ahead. And then also in the evening, it just helps me relax. But I have two things that I do that really help me be the best I can be. Number one is I do all my deep work, what I call deep work, in the morning. Like after I've eaten breakfast, because I'm a hangry, crazy person. Like, don't talk to me before I've had food. Like, I'm not nice. So like people drink coffee, they drink tea. Like I don't drink coffee, I don't drink tea. I drink ginger water in the morning. But like if I have not had breakfast, we're not having conversations. So I make sure that once I've eaten my breakfast, I've been up for a little while, like anything that needs critical decision making, I do it with a fresh mind. Like once my inbox is totally cleared out, I set up all my deep work meetings in the morning because by the time 4 o'clock rolls around and I've been on 6 Zooms, I can't make an intelligent decision about anything. My brain is fried. My kids are home from school. There's like 80 things happening. I'm like multitasking like crazy. I'm like loading laundry and on a Zoom call and talking to my kids at the same time. Like it's multitasking mania in my place. And so I also just recently moved to Miami and my whole team's sitting up in New York. So that's been a big change for me. But the other thing I do besides practicing meditation and doing deep work in the morning is I swim. And it's something that I really feel like is important for me personally. I happen to love to swim. And now that I've moved down to Florida, I can swim outdoors all the time, which is kind of fantastic. What I love about it is that I'm alone. And I'm alone with my thoughts, and it actually helps me stay the most creative I can possibly be because I have time to do deep thinking. So no one's, like even when I take a shower, and anyone who knows this who has children, like literally I have no personal time. Like every door in this house is like locks don't exist in my home. So like every thought that ever occurs in my brain is barged into by a small human or a big human or a Zoom call or a phone or a text message. And so this time that I get to do deep thinking in the swimming pool is like the best time for me. I just relax, I decompress, and also I think about things that I like are upsetting me or bothering me or strategize for the future, and it allows me to have that solace. And so that's what I do for me.
I love it. Psyche, how about you?
Yes, I don't swim, but I do. Usually my swim time is comprised of my 6-year-old, 8-year-old, or 10-year-old splashing me. So that sounds so good, but not yet. I'm not there yet. I do, however, I get away every Monday, and I teach Zumba, and I haven't allowed anything, kind of embarrassingly to say, but I haven't allowed anything to interrupt my Monday night Zumba classes. And it is my time where I am giving glory and honor for every bone that moves and every muscle that can shake. Every bit of my body gets an opportunity to move. And I love it. I certified during COVID, and it was a way just for me to enjoy some type of, just level up. I felt like there was an opportunity for my personal self to just step out and do something different and new. And I am very busy. I mentioned I have a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old. I'm on their PTA board. I just recently competed in a beauty pageant that I'm America's Most Beautiful Mrs. Texas, and I compete in America's, like the overall America's competition next year. And I get the opportunity to work alongside some fantastic people here in Urban Hydration. And I sit on a board from my undergrad alma mater. So very, very busy lifestyle. And every morning I've taken between the hours of 5 and 6 a.m. as meditation. And after 6, I'm headed to the gym to work out every other day because my husband takes the other day that I don't take. We've got to split up because somebody has to make oatmeal. And I think the new thing that I've started, I'm early at this, but I've started this, and this is embarrassing to say, but data shows this is real. I stopped taking my phone to the bathroom. And data shows that I'm not the only woman that does that. So it's been it sounds awful, but it's been therapeutic for me not to have my phone where I can just get a quick second to myself and respond to messages. I've made that more of a time of prayer. And it's been, it's almost like I've got that prayer time in the morning, and then I've been having kind of spotty throughout the day whenever I go even pee. I just take a moment and just pray. And it's been really, really interesting and good for me.
I love this.
So
And here's-
personal.
yeah, no, it's great. This is great. This is real talk. And also what I didn't hear is I stay at work 7 days a week. I work from 5 in the morning until midnight every night, hustle, hustle, grind, grind, grind. And we've got to shake up that definition of success, because it is not cool to be burned out. It's not cool to run yourself into the ground. You're not your best for you. You're not your best for your customers, for your business, for your people. And maybe there are seasons where you have to push the gas a little bit more than others. And, you know, I think it's just, that can't be the normal. That's not what we should be striving for. And so I think many of the most successful people you'll meet, you'll find that behind the success are boundaries, routines, morning rituals. And so just, I would encourage you, for those listening, to think about what is one thing you can start your day with every day to help you be at your best, because you matter. And the more you can serve yourself, the better you can show up and serve those around you. So with that, Nadine, I will pass it to you for some Q&A.
Thank you so much, Kristen, Divya, Psyche. The students have been saying this has been an amazing session, great advice, as well as they needed this. Someone said, I was having a mad day, but this inspired me. And someone said, are you hiring? Great advice. Collaborating is better than competing. Two questions I wanted to bring. One is specific, actually specific to Divya. I said, hi Divya, your story strikes a major chord with me because I too have an investment banking background, currently interning with a local investment banking firm in Las Vegas. And I'm also senior associate in UNLV's VC fund, and I'm planning on going to law school. But that being said, I have an industry disrupting idea that I've explored with many professionals in said industry, and they all express it's a good idea, and that right execution, it can take off. The question is to you, when was that pivotal moment in your life when you decided to take that leap of faith and become the accidental entrepreneur that you came to be?
I think it's really important that, like, for me, I wasn't ready to take that leap of faith and just start a business full time, because the security of a full-time job is something that for me in my 20s, like, I needed that. Like, I had bills to pay, and I wasn't ready to, like, I didn't have savings to, like, become an entrepreneur full time and, you know, live off peanuts. And so for me, I did something. The Wall Street Journal actually wrote an article and quoted me about, like, it's called, like, toe in the water, so many years ago. And it was such an amazing expression that I hold with me. Sometimes it's okay to poke your toe in the water. Like, while, you know, like Psyche mentioned, like, she became an entrepreneur while she was at business school. You know, while you're at school or while you have a full-time job, and then you decide that you want to do something nights and weekends, and, like, try before you buy, like, test the lifestyle out. Is this for me? Can I do this? Is there product market fit? Like, it's okay to do that. Not everybody just, like, quits their job and starts a company from scratch and is wildly successful. I mean, some people are. I was not. I really worked at it nights and weekends before I was ready to leave my full-time job. It's okay to dip a toe in the water.
Got it. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
And the question I have for both of you is, how has receiving your MBA benefited you? Would you recommend getting experience then going back to school? So Psyche, I'll have you start first.
Sure. Well, I can only speak to my experience. I was married when I did my MBA program, and we later had children, and we both worked in corporate America while we were in our program. For me, my experience was exceptional. Again, to the point that I made previously, I've had the opportunity to take bits and pieces along the way, and I'm a chapter book, if you will, versus a one-page story.
And for Divya, you as well, how has receiving your MBA benefited you, and would you recommend getting experience first, then going back to school?
I think it was amazing for me. I highly recommend getting an MBA. For me, I think, like, education feeds my soul, my brain, and, like, my perspective in life. And, like, I joke with my parents, like, I have 2 Indian parents. They're just, like, waiting for me to become a doctor. Like, I'm chopped liver until I become a doctor. So I'm like, I might just have to do my PhD and just, like, have the DR for just like before I pass away, just so I can say, oh, like mommy became a doctor. I just, I love learning. I have 3 degrees. I went to undergrad. I did my culinary school degree. Did my master's. Like, I love learning. I have a philosophy at Wander Beauty that we always say, like, always be learning. And so I think that it was a great experience for me, and I highly recommend it. But, everyone's path is different. Some people learn a lot by not getting a formal education, but I felt like getting a formal education was amazing. And I think the people I met were life-changing in my career.
We have time for one more question for both you and Psyche, and for you, Kristen, too. For anyone, is there anything you would have done differently at the start of your entrepreneurship journey, or advice you would give yourself at that time? Now to your younger self.
I'll give my time to Psyche and Divya because I know I'm speaking after this.
Okay, great. I would tell my younger self to really just slow down and enjoy it. Like, I just feel like it rushed so quickly by. And, people say this when you have kids. They're like, oh my God, like they grow so fast, right, Psyche? Like, you're just like, I have a 9-year-old and I have a 7-year-old, and you're like, they were literally in diapers like 3 seconds ago. It goes so quickly. So I think it's really important to celebrate success when you have it, and to take a moment to revel in it. Like, oh my God, we got our like X thousandth customer, or we reached 1 million in sales or 10 million in sales. Like, take a minute to just like pause and enjoy the achievement and enjoy the happy moments of your life and the things that you've done. Take a moment to be excited about graduating and like what that means for you in your future career. And like, just take small moments to celebrate success, and also take moments to reflect on when things go wrong. Like, when a relationship goes sour with somebody, it's like, why did it happen? What did I learn from this? What can I take away from this so that it doesn't happen again? Or, when something doesn't work out at work and you fail, like, just treat it as a learning experience and take whatever you can from it.
This is always an interesting question. I actually answered this in a pageant a couple of days ago, and I'd say what I said then, which was just a bit of an excerpt from my white flag story. And that story was just about when I almost gave up everything because I had associated me to my success and me to the growth of my company, and just the company, not my family, not my husband's, just admiration for me, not the growth of my babies, not their good grades or our puppy. It was my company. I tell my younger self, girl, get a grip. It is not important if you are not living, if you are not breathing, if you are not here, then what is it all worth? So I think that it's important for us to recognize that while we are struggling, and it is a struggle every day, no matter where you show up in your life, it's still a struggle. Even if you're just enjoying life, it's still a struggle to do that because you're wondering, is this the best enjoyment that I could have? Could my enjoyment be just a little bit better? No matter where you show up, I think it's very important to recognize that this struggle is not who you are. It is a piece of the story. It's just a couple paragraphs in the entire book, and trust that it's going to be a good read. And without the ups, without the downs, you wouldn't be able to share your growth and what you've gone through with the next person to inspire them to do something better. So I'd say that would be the advice that I have. I've been through so much, and I remember the day. I'll never forget the day that our factory closed, and I was 36 weeks pregnant, and I was on the factory line churning sugar scrubs, and then all the scrubs got returned back to us, and we were hundreds of thousands of dollars in the beginning of our business in debt because we were bootstrapping, and we had promised Target and someone else that we'd have 50,000 units for them, and we couldn't because the factory that we were using had closed. When we failed that day to close every lid and some of the lids overspilled, headed over to the store, I thought I was done for. I thought, what was the purpose of living? What is the purpose of me even being here? if I can't do this right. And I'm here to say that, well, that just taught me to show up and focus and hire better next time. So I'm not on the line doing this at 36 weeks pregnant. I needed every learning experience that I've been through, and every learning experience that I've been given is just that. It is not who I am. It is a learning experience. And every struggle, no matter where I am in the struggle, is just that. It is that struggle to teach me more. It is not who I am. It doesn't define me. I get to every morning, wake up, take a look in that bright mirror, and define myself every day.
Thank you so much, Divya and Psyche, for your participation on the panel today. I can't summarize enough from the students how much we've appreciated all of your insightful feedback, advice, sharing your stories with us. This has been an amazing event, and we thank you so much. I know, Divya, you put in on the chat how to follow you on Instagram. If you have any questions, to follow up with Divya at D Gugnani on Instagram. And Psyche, if you want to also have people to follow you for any follow-up questions, but thank you so much. The Troesh Center and UNLV, thanks you so much for your participation today in this event. If you're ever in town, please let us know. We'd love to host you in any way possible to come. But again, thank you so much. Yeah, Vegas is booming right now. There's so many different things. So if you're ever here, please let us know. But thank you so much, Divya and Psyche, for the panel today. We just appreciate it so much, and thank you so much. And for the students, just to let you know, and Psyche just put on her on LinkedIn, this event's not over yet. There's actually gonna be a keynote by Kristen afterwards. So we're gonna take a minute and say thank you so much for Divya and Psyche, and then we'll transition over to Kristen for her keynote. But thank you so much, Divya and Psyche.
Thank you, Divya.
You're awesome.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We ready to keep going?
Yep, you're all set.
Okay. So this is real talk. I want to talk about what happens when you start a company and then you wake up and you realize that's not what you want anymore. And what happens when you realize that maybe a dream that you set your mind to, you get there and then you want something else in your life? What happens if the story changes? What happens if there's a pivot in your story? So my story begins as a kid. I was very entrepreneurial, although I never thought that being an entrepreneur was in the cards for me. I always had these little businesses. I had a lemonade stand, I had a babysitting service, and this was from 6, 7 years old. And my dad, my parents were not entrepreneurs, but my dad's family, they immigrated to the US from Palestine, and they opened a restaurant and a hotel. And so I think maybe growing up and watching my grandparents, perhaps that's where my entrepreneurial spirit came from. But my parents certainly were not entrepreneurs. And then I went to college. I went to the University of Florida, and I was very lost. I kind of alluded to this earlier, that feeling of you've got to pick the thing that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. And I just remember all the pressure I felt in making that decision. And so I changed my major 9 times by the end of my sophomore year. And I ended up settling on finance, thinking that I would work on Wall Street and move to New York. And actually, very similar to the path that Divya and even Psyche took, that's what I saw for myself. And at the age of 19, I wanted a way to make some extra money. So I started cleaning houses, and I never thought that it would be my career. I didn't set out to start a business. It was just supposed to be a little side gig to make some extra cash. And that was it. And the first house that I cleaned, it was horrible. I did such a bad job that she paid me, but my first customer ended up after the cleaning saying, "Hey, that was really bad. How about I teach you how to clean, and then I'll hire you to clean my house every week." So that's how bad, my first customer had to teach me how to clean, but then I got really good at it. And then she told her friends about me. And then, next thing I knew, 7 days a week, I was cleaning houses in between classes, not going to football games, cleaning a house instead. And it was just supposed to be a way to make some money while in school. Well, right before I graduated, I was 21, I got an opportunity to clean 800 apartments. And in Gainesville, which may be similar to where you live, there are so many student housing properties where when students move out, all the apartments have to be cleaned before the new students move in. And so they had lots of work available. If you were a cleaning company, there were a lot of opportunities for you to have work in this busy summer season. And so I signed this contract. I hired 60 students. I hadn't the slightest clue of how to be a leader or how to lead a business. And as Nadine shared when she introduced me, 45 of the 60 people walked off the job 3 days into the contract. And that was my first introduction of leadership and of business. And this is where I was saying sometimes moments we have in life don't make sense. I never want to go back to that moment when 45 people walked out on me. But now that I can look back 14 years later, I'm so thankful that experience happened, because that was my moment. That was the moment that inspired my obsession with wanting to learn how to lead and with wanting to really learn how to build a company where people really felt appreciated and like they mattered. And so I ended up turning down a job in finance to stick with this dream I had to build this cleaning company and make it the best job anyone had ever had. And everyone in my life, except for my parents, thought that was the silliest decision. Why would you give up moving to New York? Why would you stay in a college town? Why cleaning? So I just want to acknowledge that if you have people in your life that are challenging what you want for yourself, the challenge that you have is finding your own voice in that sea, because you don't want to get to the end of your life and live in what if land, where you're going back and you're thinking, what if I hadn't listened to them? And what if I had followed my heart? And what if? And I knew very well that this business could fail. But I also knew that if that happened, I would learn a ton from it. And at least I would know, right? I wouldn't live the rest of my life wondering. So long story short, I ended up leading that company for 14 years and grew the company to employ thousands of people, and really quickly realized that my passion was not in cleaning at all. It was in people. It was in helping people become the very best versions of themselves, and in creating programs that would invest in our people, help them become the best leaders ever. And that's where my heart always was. And because I focused on that part of our business, our company became really well known for our culture. And we actually started another company where we would go around the world and we would help all kinds of organizations build similar environment that we have. So we basically would help a team make their culture better. And I started to feel this really weird feeling where whenever I was working in culture, people, working with other teams, working with people in our own company, I would feel like so passionate, so energized, in the place I'm meant to be, 100% certain. But then I would have these times where I would be in a meeting about cleaning, and we'd be talking about a vacuum cleaner or what cleaning products are we going to order. And I would just feel the passion be drained out of me. And I felt like my light inside was dimming. And I tried to hide it because I didn't know what else to do. How could the owner of a cleaning company that's growing really fast acknowledge that she doesn't like cleaning? It felt like something I couldn't say out loud. And the thing is, growing the cleaning company was my dream. When I started out, that was my dream. But now my dream was different. Now I felt like I had learned a lot from the cleaning company. And what I wanted to do was actually take the thing I discovered about myself, my passion for leadership and culture, and I wanted to go full throttle into that. Well, I didn't listen to myself. I continued to push that voice away. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't know what to do. There was a lot of fear. So I don't know, maybe you're sitting in a place of fear. Maybe you feel like you're passionate about this thing and you're not really sure what to do. Maybe you're on the fence between, do I jump into entrepreneurship where I feel passionate, or do I stay in this place where I'm secure and comfortable but bored? And it's that being in that place where you're in two places at once can be really, really hard. So I didn't know what to do about it. So I stayed there. And then I think that the pandemic was a really powerful reflection time for everyone. I think it was like a magnifying glass, and you got to look at life and you got to really ask yourself, am I happy with how I'm living my life? I didn't have any option but to actually reflect and hear what my heart was telling me. So I knew that I had to make a change. And my first step was telling the team, I'm not passionate about cleaning. And their response was, we know, we can tell. And what took you so long? And we're not passionate about it either. And so with my team's help, we were able to courageously pivot our company. And we sold the cleaning side of our business in May after 14 years. On our 14-year anniversary, the sale took place. And we decided to go full throttle into our leadership development company. And since making that decision, we've doubled that business. So I'm just sharing this story because I think this is a story we don't hear about a lot. We don't hear about what happens when you fall out of love with your original dream, or you feel that you want to make a pivot in your life. So I thought back to my journey over these last 18 months of making this change and just what were the key things that really helped me to write this story? And I'm hoping that these takeaways can help you in thinking about the story that you want to write for yourself and for your life. And the first is mindset. It's so important to really become curious about the beliefs we have in here and what we're telling ourselves. I don't know if you've ever heard of something called limiting beliefs or personal narratives, but they can sound something like, I don't belong, or I'm not good enough, or I need to be perfect, or I can't make a mistake, I can't fail. For me, my narrative was, it's my job to make people happy. And that came from a childhood of always being the peacemaker. If my parents had an argument, which they had a lot of arguments when I was growing up, I would find both of them and I would bring them together and say, make up, say sorry. If my sister and my mom had an argument, I would do the same in their relationship. My friends, I would bring them together when they weren't getting along. And so I just assumed that as a kid, I guess it was my job to keep everybody happy. And I was so afraid that announcing this change might upset people. It might upset our customers, our people, our community who's been following our story. But what I realized is, okay, I'm putting everyone's happiness above my own. Is it success if I get to the end of my life and I've made everyone else in my life happy, but I haven't made myself happy? That's not success. So I had to learn to challenge that thought. And yeah, I do want to keep people happy. And also my happiness matters too. So I would encourage you to be curious about what are those narratives that you have and how can you challenge those thoughts? Because they could be holding you back from writing the story that you really want to write in your heart. The second thing is about authenticity, which is really being clear on what your values are and really leaning into your values as a compass. I have two values that drive my decisions: courage and compassion. And I realized that I wasn't living either of them. Courage means I need to be courageous in making this change, because I knew it's what I wanted. I knew that we were in a position where we could make it happen. And I need to be compassionate to myself, to honor what I want for my life, but also I can be compassionate for others in this process. So instead of just saying, okay, the company sold, we found every single team member a job. We matched every single client with a new cleaning company, and we announced our transition like more than 6 months before it took place, so that this wasn't unkind for anyone in the process. So just leaning into your values when you're making tough decisions or when you're not sure how to handle something, looking at your values to be a compass, and many times they will help point the way and tell you what the answer is. The third thing is a book that I read called Necessary Endings. And it talks about, there's a metaphor in the book of a rose bush. And the idea is you have a rose bush and you have roses, and the roses are the things that you love. They're your passions. Maybe it's a business that you want to start or a business that you have. It's something that you really want to put more time into. And then there are things that grow in the rose bush. And I'm not a gardener, so forgive me if I totally mess up this metaphor, but you have to prune the rose bush. If you don't prune the rose bush, your roses cannot bloom. So what it means is we have to get better at looking at our lives and asking ourselves what needs to end. What needs to end so that my roses can bloom? And sometimes it means a mindset. Sometimes it means a relationship. Sometimes it means fear. I've been in this place where I want to make this change and now I'm able to do it. And I just need to take the jump. Like I need to end, the staying in my comfort zone. Or for me, it was, I needed to end cleaning because it was getting in the way of my roses blooming. So just what do you need to end? What's getting in the way? It's okay to end something. And sometimes I think that's really hard, giving up on something, giving up on someone, letting go. How do you know when it's time to give up on a dream or an idea? And I would just say, if it's causing you so much pain or emotional energy, to now it's not something that brings you joy. It's something that negatively affects you more than it adds value and joy to your life. It might be time to consider a necessary ending. The fourth thing is fear. And I learned a lot about my relationship with fear in this transition. I think there's two kinds of fears that I recognized I had. One was a fear of failure. Raise your hand if you have a fear of failure, right? It's like, I don't want to fail. I don't want to, have this not go according to the way I hope it will. And that fear can keep us frozen. It can keep us from moving forward. And sometimes it goes back to our childhoods and what we were taught about failure. If you grew up in a home where it wasn't okay to fail, or you were shown love only when you did things perfectly. Well, it makes sense why in your life later, failure isn't really, you know, a cool thing. And even me, I grew up in a home where failure was almost encouraged, but I'm still afraid to fail. You know, it didn't like remove my fear of failure. So I had a big fear of failure. And then the other piece of it is fear of success. And I don't think we talk about this enough. Fear of success sounds like, okay, what if this transition actually goes well and the business starts growing really, really fast? And then that means I'm back in the business more and I just work so hard to get out of the day-to-day of the business. Or let's say you're a writer and you want to write a book. Fear of success could sound like, what happens if this book is really good? Does that mean I have to write another book? Or it could be you submit something for school. It's like you get an A. Now you have to work that hard to get the same grade on the next thing. And so we have this fear of success that can also keep us frozen. And I used to think the goal is to get rid of fear. Like we need to get rid of it. But I want to encourage you to lean into it, to explore it. There's a great, I like to read, if you can't tell, if you can't see my bookshelf over here, there's a great book called The War of Art. And the author, Stephen Pressfield, talks about fear and how fear is a sign we're alive, and it's a sign that we're human, and it's a sign that we care. Because if we didn't care about failing, if we weren't afraid of failing, that probably means we don't care about that thing. We would just be indifferent. The fact that we're afraid to fail means that thing really matters to us. We really care about that thing. So he offers this idea of looking at fear as a compass, which I had never heard of before. And it's still a little weird to me, but there is some truth to it, I think. If there's something that you're afraid of and there's something you're resisting, could it mean that you really care about that thing? And could that actually be a clue to maybe something you're really meant to do? Like I had tremendous fear about making this transition, yet it was the thing I wanted to do most in my life. So what's the connection there? The fifth thing is pausing and really being okay with living in the question. I think that there's so much about our society that is I call it the what's next society. You go to school and it's like, well, what's next? You're getting an internship, then you graduate. What's next? What job are you going to get? You get your job. What's next? Are you going to move up in the company that you're working at? It's always what's next instead of just enjoying where we are and being present where we are. And I think maybe we feel pressure to be able to say, oh, in 5 years, this is what my life's going to look like. And I'll tell you right now, you talk to entrepreneurs and you ask the question, what does your business look like in 5 years? What does your life look like in 5 years? You might get a lot of answers, but I would say that most of those people have no idea what life's going to look like in 5 years or what their business is going to look like. Because how many people had a plan for 2020 and look what happened there, So I think we have to get better at living in the question mark and being okay with not having the answers. And I meet with people who are in their 70s and 80s who have built incredible companies that have, success off the charts. And yet I talk to them and we talk about the same thing, which is what's next in my life. And I'm like, wait a minute, you have the same question? You don't feel like you've arrived in life? No, I always wonder what's next. And, what does the next chapter look like? What's the next version of success look like? So I just want to offer this. What if we never wake up and check the box and say, I made it. I've arrived. I'm here. I'm where I want to be forever. What if the whole point of this journey is that it evolves, it grows with us? What if when we reach a place, we're always thinking, okay, I'm good here for now, but then maybe there's another day where I want to be somewhere else. And what if we don't have to know exactly what that journey looks like? What if we can be willing to give up control and just being okay with living in the question mark? So if this question comes in the chat later when we do Q&A and you ask me, where will I be in 5 years or where will I be in 10 years? My answer to you will be, I don't know. I have no idea where I'm going to be in 2 weeks, I'll be in Mexico getting married, but very few times do I have the answer for because I don't know. And me just saying that is like guessing. Planning is guessing. The sixth thing is, and this is like really important if you want to own a business, I am not my company. That was what I realized in this transition. I am not my company. My identity got wrapped up into my company. And that was why making the change was so much harder, because I was known as the person who started Student Made. Anytime I was introduced, it was always about Student Made. Anytime, I would meet people, it was always like Student Made was a part of it. I didn't know how to be me outside of my company. And I think that the thought of having to figure out who I was apart from student made was really scary. And so I didn't want to even go there, which is why I continued to stay in this position where I wasn't exactly fulfilled or passionate. So I think that's really important. The thing that is constant in your life is how you treat people, who you are, how you treat people, how you treat yourself. And the what may change, what you do may change, but who you are, that is something that's in your control every single day. And that's our identity. It's what will people say about you when you're not here? If you weren't in the room and people were talking about you, what would they say? You know, if someone had to describe you, what would they say? And that's the definition of success that I think we should be striving for, because that's something that's in our control every day. So I had to learn how to separate. Just because the company isn't what it used to be does not mean that I'm not still me, you know, and just being able to really separate that. I'll end with, so just to recap the 6 things. We talked about mindset, values, having courage to make necessary endings, fear and learning to lean into it and explore it and be curious about it, pausing and living in the question mark, and this identity. You know, you're not your company, you're not your business, you're not your business idea, you are you. And that's the one thing you have control over. I want to end with one of my favorite stories, which I think is that the big idea behind the story is that only you know what's best. And you heard this from Divya and Psyche, right? Like following your gut, following your intuition. This is your life and only you know what's best. I don't know if you've seen the Tina Turner documentary. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. It is so good. And there's a part in the documentary where they're talking about Tina Turner's single, What's Love Got to Do with It, which was her best-selling single, best-selling album. And they call that single and that album her comeback song and her comeback album. But in the documentary, she's sharing more about the history of this song and this album. And prior to that song, her producers had asked her to sing below the music. They said, your voice is really strong, and we think it sounds better if you sing below the music and the music comes on top of your voice. So she did the first 4 albums like that. And then here came album 5. And she said, I want to sing above the music. I think that my strong voice is my gift. And so I want to sing above the music. And they said, okay, you know, we'll do it your way. Well, that became her number 1, right? And so as they're describing this as her comeback album, she says, that's not my comeback, that's my debut. So the moral of the story is, it's your story and only you know what's best. And if you let everyone else dictate what your story is going to be, you will not live the beautiful version of your life, the most beautiful, true version of your life that's possible. It takes courage to live a meaningful life, whether it's business. I think you could be an entrepreneur in many different ways. It doesn't have to look like owning a business. You can be entrepreneurial in your life and in your path. And I think that it requires courage to take feedback from people. But at the end of the day, it's your life and your story and no one else's. And so what do you want yours to say? And with that, I think we're right on time. Nadine, back to you.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I was looking at the comments and different things, and someone said, Suzanne said she had experience so that she had to leave her company to grow. Now she's back in school. Someone shared a thought that, you know, it is hard though, because for some, job security is so important, especially from their family members, the pressure to have a secure job, that it's hard to live authentic self when, you know, that could come into, you know, contradiction from ideals from your family and different things, from your family and job security.
Sure.
And then people are like, congratulations to you for getting married next week, and they can't wait to read the book. They can't wait to read your book. So I just want to say thank you so much, Kristen. This is, I'm sure everyone knows she's getting married next week. This is actually her last event as a single woman. Next time we see her again, she'll be married. But thank you so much for doing such a great job with the moderation of the panel, with Psyche and with Divya, and sharing your story and how and lessons you've learned to live an authentic life and be a true leader. You'll see Kristen again, I'm sure in the spring. We'll work on spring programming on human leadership, and everyone's just saying thank you so much. But thank you everyone for attending today. Again, this event will be on our Troesh Canvas page. If you don't have access to our Troesh Canvas page, please email back to the email that you got the Zoom information. We'll add you to the page and give us to about the end of the week to get it up there. And you can watch the session again to hear Divya and Psyche's great advice, as well as Kristen's. And thank you so much, Kristen, for everything. You know, I'm a true fan. And also I follow you and read all, I'm so inspired by you to be an authentic leader. So thank you so much. And again, thank you for attending today. And have a great night, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. I always end with a Zoom hug. So here's the biggest hug ever for you. I'm so proud of you. Bye.
Thank you.
Nadine?
Yes?
Just a quick question. Not for anyone else, just for you. For those who finished their medallion program, this is going to be my last event. I have graduation obviously in December. So my question is, like, where do we go to pick up our medallions, or like get our medallions?
Actually, I will send, what I do is I send this information over to Dana, and Dana oversees, and Gioni in the advising office oversees the process. So she'll follow up with you on how to get the medallion. But yes, I just confirm the attendance for this medallion event, and then Dana from the Office of Advising will follow up.
Okay.
Is that correct, Marcel? Because Marcel's in
Yes.
the program, so yes.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
Hi, how you doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, okay, awesome. The question that I had is, when are you guys gonna have like another event like this? Because I need it for my classes, because they require us to attend like virtual or live events. To like.
So if you go on our, I'm gonna put on our link right now, Abdul, I'm gonna put up all the events the Troesh Center runs. We post them all on our Startup Tree website. So if you click on that link right there, I just put, I just put it in, I'm gonna put the link right now.
Okay, thank you.
All of our events for the Troesh Center are on that event as well. So we have actually an event coming up this Friday at the Cashman Center. We're taking a tour of the Cashman Center and the UC Lights. We have an event coming up actually in November of going to Blackfire Innovation. We have a business plan workshop coming up. So that is all on our, you can sign up for them on that link I just put up on in the chat.
Okay, nice. That's awesome. It was my first like live event attending, and I really liked it. I'm like, I wish I would have attended more events because it seems interesting, you know.
Oh, good. Thank you so much,
Abdul. Have real like people that are in business that, you know, that have, you know, experienced the highs and lows, so they understand, you know, where there's difficulties and where there's improvement. I like that. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. And for Cindy, yes, I know you're using personal email, but I got you. I recorded your attendance. You're all set, Cindy. Again, thank you so much, everyone, and have a great evening. Thank you, and congratulations, Kristen.
I just want to say bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Take
care. I want to see pictures.
Yes,
But
I
enjoy first. The pictures later.
Yes. Okay. Bye.